Cait Cher here. Now, originally, this video was going to be a full review on the Big Hero 6 manga, which I finished about a month ago, and I got about a month ago. But then while I was planning this out, my review started to become a comparison between these and the actual Disney movie, Big Hero 6, which came out in 2014, fall of 2014. And the more I started to research, I became to realize that my comparisons were pretty much valid, because this series was actually used as a promotion tool, or at least a chapter of it was used as a promotion tool for the Disney movie. And the writer and illustrator, Haruki Ueno, I know, Japanese is not my first language, partnered with Disney to create this as a promotion tool. And which is why the English translation came out so quickly. I mean, if you watched Studio Ghibli films, the English dubs, I think you would know by now that the dubs were done by the Disney studios, so of course the translations are going to be much more accurate, and the process is going to be done a lot quicker, because, you know, money and licensing rights, kind of hard to get if you're another studio, but if you're Disney, you can get whatever you want in a heartbeat. So this video is basically going to be sort of like a versus type video. So, is it that the manga is actually better than the movie? Or is the movie still standing tall in its all fame and glory? Well, let's go find that out, shall we? So if I'm going to do characters for both the manga and the movie, I think the best way to describe this portion is that I'm going to be talking about almost complete opposites. Because in the movie, so to speak, you have 14-year-old Hiro who just graduated from high school and is literally using his intelligence to illegally get money with robot fights. And of course you have Tadashi, who's always his big brother, who's always the one bailing him out. He's the one bailing him out of everything. So Hiro is really smart academically, but he's not exactly intelligent socially yet. And it's kind of understandable, because you see that Hiro is surrounded by people older than him, and he kind of does it, and he's kind of a wise cracker, that kind of thing. But then you have, in the manga, Hiro is the same way, but still has that immature essence, because he's still a 14-year-old kid, and he will do all this stupid stuff and end up getting in trouble. And of course, Tadashi has to bail him out, because Tadashi's like, I don't know, 19, 20 years old in college, so he kind of knows the world much better than Hiro does. So, I don't know, half of me kind of likes the mature Hiro from the movie much better, because due to his circumstances, he had to mature a little bit. And with the manga, it's, I don't know, I see a kid in this college setting, and it kinda doesn't make sense, despite, Hiro having super intelligence. But in any other way, they both play their Hiro parts very well. And when it comes to Tadashi has more light shined in the manga than the movie, which I think kind of makes sense, because the manga's trying to expand why Hiro loves his big brother so much. They added a little bit more backstory to the whole endeavor before Tadashi ends up dying or missing, but I'll get that to plot when we get to plot. So, I think with that said and done, like, we do know more about Tadashi in the manga, but for some odd reason, I think it's just rehashing what we kind of already know from the movie, because we know that Tadashi's a kind brother figure, but of course with the manga they show a lot more scenes, and they show a lot more of the brotherly connection, but I thought Disney showed in the movie the brotherly connection enough, because with the manga it seems like the whole plot or climax beginning in the manga shows it's a little slower, and we kind of don't get to it until, like, the second half of the first manga volume, which I think is a little tedious, because if you're going to start a story in a manga or in an anime, the plot has to be settled in, like, the first maybe 2 chapters, just the first chapter, or the first episode. Because if people don't know what the show or the story is going to be like, they're going to get bored really quickly, and they're going to drop the show off the bat. With the movie, they did that really well, especially with, like, the first eighth, because we're introduced to Baymax, we already know the brotherly connections, we already know what's probably going to happen, but with Tadashi having those slow moments in the manga, I felt like it was kind of unnecessary. And because of that, if you thought Tadashi's or Hiro's friends were gonna have more light shined in the manga, you're very well mistaken. I think they're even, like, degraded more to background tools. Because in the movie, we're introduced to each of Tadashi and Hiro's friends, because they're going to be the ones helping Hiro out in the future. But in the manga, I think because the whole manga was released after the movie came out, I think they're just banging on the fact that, oh, you saw this movie already, you know what these guys are like. But what if people have not seen the movie yet, and they decide to pick up this, and they're searching through it, and they're like, so why are these friends relevant again? Why do they decide to help Hiro out? That's how I kind of, even though I saw the movie before I knew this existed, that's how I kind of felt while reading this. I'm like, I thought I would get to know maybe a tad bit more about Hiro's friends than the movie showed us. I mean, yeah, we do know more about Fred than we do the other characters, but they don't even shine light on Fred throughout the entire series. Nothing. So I was kind of confused. And the villain's still the villain, and for those of you who haven't seen the movie yet, I'm not going to spoil that for you, because that would kind of ruin both the movie and the manga series for you. So, with that said and done, I think characters would have to go with what I just said. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Big Hero 6 movie for best characters, because you see Hiro's reasons for doing what he does, especially what more do we know about Tadashi in the movie, and because they didn't have to bang it into our heads so much. And plus, they made the Hiro's friends more relevant in the movie than the manga. I think the manga was there just to show you the relationship between the brothers more, which I guess that's what its sole purpose was, but at the same time, it's not what the story's about. And it's not what Hiro has to go through. So, character-wise, the movie definitely wins. I'm just going to say right now that when it comes to story development, both movies are really different. And I mean really different. I mean, for starters, the movie starts with Hiro and the robot fight. the illegal robot fight, which describes what kind of kid Hiro is. But in the manga, the story starts with Hiro and Tadashi already being at college, and of course, Hiro's being an annoying little 14-year-old in a college setting. Which, now that I think about it, that kinda doesn't make any sense, because in the movie, it states that Hiro would not be able to be doing what he is in school without Tadashi encouraging him. So, when I started reading the manga, I was like, I feel like Tadashi's encouragement is either shines so little or it's non-existent, which, I mean, that means we get a whole different side of the brotherly relationship. However, like I said before, the climax moment to where Hiro has to rise to the Big Hero 6 status is very slow, and it literally takes a whole manga volume to finally get to that point where he stands up, when in the movie itself, it just takes like a fifth, or like a fifth at most, to finally get to that. Which, I mean, as far as progression goes, the Big Hero 6 movie definitely has a lot more flow and depth than the manga does. Which comes to my other thing, Baymax. Like, I know I should have talked about Baymax in the character section, since Baymax is a character, but he's more so a character in the movie than he is in the manga, because, for starters, in the movie, Hiro isn't introduced to Baymax until, like, 10-15 minutes into the movie, when Tadashi decides to teach Hiro that college is the way to go, and that if you go to college, you can create things like I created, like how Tadashi invented Baymax. But in the manga, Baymax is introduced during the invention conference, I guess I could call it. Yeah, the conference, where Hiro, the part where Hiro competes with his microbot inventions. So, the same time Hiro showcases his microbots, Tadashi showcases Baymax in the manga, which I think that detracts from the whole future relationship with Hiro and Baymax a bit, because Hiro does not get that personal connection until Tadashi disappears. Which, again, kinda doesn't make any sense, because how would... Well, I guess Baymax would know who Hiro is a little bit, but without that first connection from the movie, how would Baymax really feel for Hiro throughout the entire film? I guess because, I guess as you could say, since Baymax is a robot, that maybe the first scene in Big Hero 6 the movie kind of doesn't matter until Hiro and Baymax team up later on. But in the manga, it's just... Like, I was finally relieved to see Baymax, because I was just like, if the Japanese title for Big Hero 6 is Baymax, where the heck is he? Like, we're not introduced to him until, like, chapter 2, chapter 3, or something? I don't know. And I was like, where's my big white robot inflatable guy? Like, literally Baymax is one of my favorite sidekicks in all of Disney, yet I don't see him until chapter 2 or 3? How does that work? And, like, I just don't know how that works. But then again, I think the big thing that I'll mention in this review, or comparison that really kind of gets to me and how the story makes sense is that, which will kind of lead into our next section, which is emotional tone in a minute or two, is that how does Tadashi die or disappear? In the movie, and by the way, this is not a spoiler whatsoever, because if you guys saw the trailer for Big Hero 6, everyone knows what happens to Tadashi. That's why the movie exists. If it was a spoiler, I'd literally have nothing to say about this movie at all. Or even both movie and manga at all. So, in the movie, a fire happens right after the invention conference. And because Tadashi's professor was still trapped in the building, Tadashi decides to run in and save him. But of course, right after he goes in there, the building just explodes. Because the fire gets worse. And it was assumed that Tadashi died. Tadashi died in the fire. And that's what makes Hiro go on this journey, because after Hiro's invention gets stolen in the process, Hiro realizes maybe Tadashi's death wasn't an accident. Maybe this was a attempt of murder or manslaughter in this case. So, but in the manga, Hiro follows Tadashi back to the university, and Tadashi gets trapped in a vortex, which was actually the invention that Hiro and his friends discover on that island, like, halfway through the movie. I think that kind of detracts from the whole mystery of the case a bit, because Hiro now knows what the invention is just by looking at it, but without that mystery from the movie, like, the heroes are finally later, like, the puzzle pieces kind of doesn't make it really complex in the manga, and I think I totally understand it. Like I said, this series was used to promote the movie. Like, it's not exactly going to be as complex as the movie is, but to the point that the mystery doesn't even exist in the manga to make the movie, I guess, more boring or even slower. I think that really detracts the value of the Disney movie a bit for me, and it kind of upsets me that they would reveal something so big, so early on in the manga series. Not that it's a spoiler or anything, but to reveal something, a huge part of the movie so quickly, that it kind of ruins the story experience on my part. So, but like I said, these are 2 volumes. They had to make the story quicker than it was, but like I said, coming from story and plot point of view, I do believe that the movie had a slower transition and a lot smoother storytelling point of view, because like I said, with combining with the character elements, the characters are introduced a lot more smoothly. It brings a lot more relevance into the movie, into the Big Hero story itself. So, again, movie wins. Movie wins this round. So basically, emotion and tone is supposed to summarize everything I've talked about before. Because a story needs to flow perfectly and smoothly, that's how people can feel for the characters and they can react to a situation the same as how the characters would react. And when it comes to manga's tone, manga is definitely a tad bit more cheery and somewhat suspenseful, but I think the art style and character does detract from the emotional scenes a bit because they do rehash the same, like, Hiro misses his brother concepts. I kind of forgot to feel sad that Tadashi's not there. That the same feeling that Hiro had during the movie. Because in the movie, because it happened so sporadically, that of course we're gonna be shocked. Of course we're gonna be upset. Because Hiro just lost the only family he had on his side left. Their parents died when they were young. Especially Hiro, because he was like 3? Yeah, 3 years old when his parents died, so he kind of doesn't remember them like Tadashi does. And Tadashi was his only family left. So, of course, in the movie, when they have a whole scene dedicated to the grieving process, we grieve along with this poor kid. And then of course later on when Tadashi's death starts affecting him even more, like we know what's gonna happen. Like we kind of know what his motivations are. In Big Hero 6, we know because Hiro knows that through the vortex maybe Tadashi's still alive. It kind of detracts from his emotions because his main mission was to go after the Masked Man because the Masked Man is the only person who knows how to get Tadashi back, but the emotion for it is kind of not there to say, so I'm like, okay, so why are you becoming Big Hero 6 again? But then of course the major emotional moments happen more towards the second half of the movie and the manga itself, because that's when the pieces start coming together, and that's when choices have to be made, and all that. And of course, the Masked Man's identity is revealed, which I really don't want to spoil because the movie is too early out to be considered one of Disney's classics yet. Because with Disney classics, you could just tell the whole story and everyone knows about it. But not everyone has seen Big Hero 6 yet, so I don't really want to ruin that for everybody else. But I just want to say, in those moments, that's what makes the Disney movie of Big Hero 6 one of Disney's darker moments. Because you really feel Hiro's anger and resentment towards what happened earlier in the movie. This has been boiling up inside him, and because the villain says the things he does, Hiro gets so mad that he decides to use Baymax as a weapon instead of his partner, which of course was not what Tadashi intended, but it's because Hiro's so mad that he makes the decisions that he makes. In the manga, or the second one, so to speak, more like the second one, so to speak, like I said, it goes by really fast, and you kind of forget what the villain did, and what Hiro was feeling at the time, because, like I said, it goes by really fast. You pretty much don't have the time to comprehend what's going on, or feel for what's going on. And especially because the ending is apparently one of those big tearjerkers, which I'm not going to reveal yet, but I saw this movie twice in theaters. One with my sister, one with one of my best friends. And I cried both times because that ending got to me. The manga ending, not so much. Even though the ending to the movie and the manga are both similar in more ways than one, I just don't know why I don't feel for the ending in this one. I think it was because like the end of the movie, it's supposed to give you a message. It's supposed to give you a lesson to learn. I got the message in the movie, but I think what Baymax was trying to tell Hiro at the end of the manga is not it's not the same. Like, it kind of doesn't feel genuine as the movie did. So I think the best I can say is, when I do say that Big Hero 6 series was supposed to be a promotional tool, it's definitely more of a promotional tool. Because it's kind of like, you know when you watch an anime series and it's so short that you're like, it kind of doesn't make any sense, but then when you research the manga, it makes more sense. It's kind of the same here. Anime is supposed to promote manga because manga is the longer version. Since the movie's the longer version of this series, or it flows, and story it flows a lot better, that's what Disney was trying to do. It was kind of like the Kingdom Hearts manga series, if you guys have heard about that. Like, it doesn't show all the worlds that Sora went into, but it gave you an idea of what the story was about, and it made you want to play the video games or research the video games because the story is a lot more complex and it's a lot more enjoyable experience. That's how I definitely feel about Big Hero 6 at the moment. Because the movie is a lot more complex and it shows everyone's sides a lot more diligently, that I'm not saying that this series is bad, because it's far from it, but it's definitely like knocking you in the head to say, hey, watch our movie, that's a thing. So maybe I'm not exactly going to read these over and over again like I would other manga series, like The God's Lie I did a couple weeks ago, but this definitely gave me the initiative to say, go watch this movie, because if I'm saying that a manga series does not tell enough, it really does not tell enough. Like, there's a lot more in the movies that Disney produced and got out, or they wanted to get out, than what these books did. So I hope you liked my little versus comparison. I know it's shorter compared to other ones that I might do in the future, but if you liked that, you can go hit that subscribe button down below, and also in the description box you'll have my other social media information if you want to follow me there, and you can also check out all the other videos I have so far. I'm Cait, Cher, and it's been real. Bye bye.